Brett Okamoto from ESPN here with Trevor Wittman, the head coach of Justin Gaethje, who will be fighting Tony Ferguson at UFC 249 on May 9th. And Trevor, thanks for taking the time to talk with us. I mean, your perspective, I'm really, really curious about it, because one of the first things that Justin said about this fight when it came up is that he called you. And that night you told him, well, you don't take short notice fights. And so initially it felt like that first reaction was, well, maybe we don't take this. Can you kind of talk me through like what went through your head when you got that phone call from Justin?
You know, I have conversations with my athletes and I follow their purpose. You know, I'm the co-pilot, they're the driver. And his goal was never to take a short notice fight, but he's purposeful and he wanted the world title and he's been training for a world title and that's his purpose now. He used to want to be the most excited fighter in the world. But 3 fights ago, he told me he wants to be a champion. He thinks he's ready to be a champion. He wants to go through the processes. So when he had said the fight to me, I said, no, man, you don't take short notice fights. And I'm sticking to what you tell me and having your back with it. And then he told me, he's like, man, I'm in shape. I've been sparring. I've been in the gym. He's like, with this going on right now, I want to fight. It's who I am. And when you have opportunities, present yourself that's in line for what you're doing. You can't pass up opportunities like that. But I have his back first, and I want to make sure that he's sticking to his guns, because the last thing you want to do is say, I should have did this. And, you know, if we're going into it, we're going into it full bore, and we're not going to make no excuses. And he instantly was full bore on it, and I'll never forget that drive home. My mind was going, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get home and start studying some tape and getting that going again. And his answers, you can tell when Justin won something and when he's determined. And it's a great fight. I love Tony. I respect Tony. I think he's a great fighter, and we want to face the best.
Just psychologically, how would you describe kind of the challenge of that? Because, you know, I think I've heard you say this on ESPN podcast or ESPN broadcasts, that I equate it to, you know, don't tell yourself that you're going to knock out somebody in the second round, because if you don't knock them out in the second round, then all of a sudden the third round comes, you know? And so I'm thinking to myself, Justin says, I'm never taking short notice fights, never taking them. I mean, in his head, it's like they don't even exist. And now here he is, and this is a very important fight, and it's on short notice. I mean, is there kind of a mental hurdle to get over that when you've committed to something like that for so long?
I think, yes, the first fight that we had that was scheduled and we were really taking on 2.5 weeks notice, yeah, but there was an advantage there. It's a totally different fight than a Khabib fight, so it's gonna throw a stick in the wheel for Tony. Getting this longer date now puts us in prime position for how we condition anyway. Our 4th week in the training camp is a down week, and when they called the fight off, he went and ate some food and was like, "Oh man." And we take that time off. So he had 3 days off, which is perfect. He got his body to recover, because we went 2 weeks as hard as he's ever done it. Like we peaked, we tried to peak as quick as we could because we had short time. So then he got 3 days off and then a down day on the 4th day. And then we're right back in the 3rd and 2nd week of peak weeks. That's our strongest weeks of every training camp. So this is almost like a full training camp, because he was already conditioned and ready in shape. We took those 2 weeks hard where it breaks your body down. Then he recovers a little bit, and then we're in for the 3rd and 2nd week of hard training, and his condition is on point. I feel very confident in that sense. Outside of this is going to be a mental fight on top of conditioning. They're both mental machines. They're both conditioning machines. They both love the fight. So I'm excited to sit front row and be a fan on top of being a coach and watching my friend chase his dreams and go out there. And people, you know, when you're fighting for a belt, it's a risk all the time. It's always more pressure when there's a belt, and Justin lives for that. So I'm just excited to be a part of it. And again, when someone says they want something and they have a target, they have a burning desire, they have their why do they do this? And there's nothing better than me seeing someone in that opportunity of what they've been asking for.
I believe you. I don't know if other people have noticed this, but no one smiles bigger than Trevor Wittman when they're standing on that stool and Bruce is reading out the names and you're kind of hanging over the edge. You have got the biggest, goofiest smile on your face I have ever seen of anyone in the entire sport. And you do it with all of your guys every single time.
Hey, it's like being in the movie theaters when you get down with your popcorn and you've been waiting for the movie to come out. We've done all the hard work. The hard work's been done. And that's the time to sit back and watch them be in the moment. You know, it's they live with that for the rest of their life. And it's just, I'm a proud coach at that moment again. You know me, Brett, I don't do many interviews. And it's all about the fighters. So me being able to see them shine in that moment, that's a blessing. I could say. And again, this fight is super cool because it's unique. You know, we don't know if there's fans. We don't really know where it is. But I think it's going to be one of the most watched fights, and what a main event to have on there. I mean, this is going to be a fan pleaser, and I mean, this is a great moment in our sport.
So when you were driving home after that call and you're like, all right, we're going to do this, we're going to fight Tony Ferguson, what were some of the first things that went through your mind, you know, in regards to Tony? And then when you started looking at film, you know, what were the other things that stood out to you?
You know, I was instantly excited because I am such a fan of Tony. He's got one of the best flows. You almost could call it like the drunken style. And I don't mean that in a negative way. He's awkward because he does so many different styles. He's so fluid. He does all this different training type of regimens, but that helps him. He fights his range really well with pressure. I mean, there's so many attributes that I could look at. I could make a list. There's lots of fighters out there that have their go-tos and they're only good at this one area. He's great in all areas. And that's why I was so excited, because that's, you know, when you have a tough challenge, that's what I look forward to as a coach is we want the toughest. We want to fight the best, especially in these positions. And I was just excited to go home and watch him and, you know, use my experience to see what we can create for a game plan and how we can prepare to go out there. First off, put on a great fight and leverage Justin's brand, because again, it's about being remembered, and put on a great fight for the fans, and then you know, inspire people to get in the gym and want to start being a fighter or beat cancer or beat coronavirus, whatever it is. I love this sport, and to be a part of a moment like this is super, super cool.
Yeah, I bet. When you're going through Tony Ferguson's highlight reels in his career, does anything stick out? Like any maybe even one moment where you really took something from him, and whether it was, you know, his personality or what he likes in the cage, what makes him uncomfortable? Is there any like one observation that sticks out from a certain moment in the fight?
I think uniqueness. I think you can't get training partners for his style. He's different every fight. Every fight he's got a little bit of a different game plan. He's intelligent in there, and that's what stands out to me. He's one of the most intelligent fighters who doesn't have a fundamental style. It's not like he's got a Thai style. He doesn't just have a boxing style. He's a very unique grappler. You never know what to expect. So again, you got to be. This fight is one of those fights where Justin has to be present. You know, not thinking about, hey, our game plan is the key to this success. No, you have to be open and aware at all times and in that cage, not listening to anybody on the outside, but you are focused, because Tony can change momentum. He can carry momentum. And, I mean, he's, again, very intelligent.
Yeah. Obviously, Khabib Nurmagomedov and Justin Gaethje are two completely different fighters. But, you know, when I was talking to Khabib about this fight, he pointed to, you know, fights against Danny Castillo and Kevin Lee and said, this guy can't handle wrestling. Like, what's he going to do with my wrestling? And I can't help but notice you got some talented grapplers in there with you today. You got Beneil Dariush, you got Kamaru Usman. How much of a wrestling – how much wrestling could be included in this game plan? How much would you like to see Justin wrestle in this fight?
The same amount of wrestling you always see in his training camps. We always have wrestling and grappling in his training camps, but we go out there fight. If we have to make an adjustment, then we'll make an adjustment. But again, Tony's grappling is world class. So it's not like we're going to go in there and force anything. We got the best fighters in the world are the ones that can stay consistent and not make a mistake. That's what makes a great fighter. It's the one who can stay consistent and capitalize when someone makes a mistake is the greatest fighter in the world. That's what separates them from a gatekeeper, from a mid-level to a gatekeeper to a great fighter, is someone who can be so good at what they do. And when you have two talented fighters, the first one that makes a mistake, that's a huge thing in this fight. And that's what's going to make it so fun, because they like to fight. And it's, you know, it's we're gonna be out there fighting, and you know, Justin's going to be Justin. That's, to me, his best attribute is if you can make an athlete be the best of them, that's my job as a coach. I'm just the co-pilot. I'm building the plan, telling him when to turn, when to hit the gas pedal, and he's the one out there doing it. And again, this is world class. So I love this level.
Yeah. Well, Trevor, you give a lot of analytical work, you know, on those broadcasts. So maybe even remove yourself from this fight. Let's just say in a vacuum, you know, fighter A, fighter B. Fighter A has a big weight cut for, you know, arguably no reason. Cuts the weight on April 17th just to show that he can do it, and is going to come back and cut it again on May 8th. What do you make of a fighter's decision to cut the weight just to make a point?
I would say every fighter is different. That fits Tony perfectly. If I'm in Tony's corner, do Tony. He's doing Tony, and we expect him to beat Tony. We want the best Tony, and I expect Tony to beat Tony. That's he's not going to change what he's going to do. Do I think it's right for Justin to do it? No. I think it's a distraction for our style. I think it could benefit. I don't know him on that level. I haven't worked with him in a training camp. I don't know what his cuts are like. That's the cool thing about this sport is there's so many different ways to do things, and he stands out. He stands out in all his training. Like if you look at it if I didn't know who he was and didn't follow him for many years, I would look at him and say he's crazy. You training like that for him. Yeah. But if I was his coach after knowing that, I think that works for Tony. That's again, Donald cleaning the gym. He's
with some swag, cleaning it with some swag.
Like Cowboy Cerrone. Cowboy Cerrone was a very unique guy. He'd like to go out and do like X Games stuff for training and use that and wakeboard. And wakeboarding's hard on your legs and things like that. So what works for an athlete works for him. And him doing the weight cut, like I don't really pay much attention to it. Again, I expect the best Tony to go out there, but I wouldn't ask Justin. Justin never has a problem cutting weight. Like it's really easy for him to cut weight. And I think that's one of his best attributes is he doesn't carry a lot of weight. He fights at his we train at the weight that we want to fight at. If we cut a lot of weight and we're like worried we got to put this weight back, I don't think that's healthy for a body.
Yeah. Yeah. Just real quick question. Have you guys been told anything in terms of like, you got to do it with a reduced corner? I mean, do you know for sure who will be in Justin's corner during this fight?
No, we're going to ask for our 4 guys. It's a main event. And from that thing, that's our team. Mm-hmm. I don't think that should be changed at all.
Okay.
I think there's still going to be 3 judges. So if they're cutting 2 judges, then I'll be like, okay, we'll cut a coach. But no, I think we should be able to have our right to our 4 cornermen on a main event and title fight.
Well, I can't remember if you're a prediction guy or not, Trevor, but I'm gonna just take a leap of faith here. So we'll see if you give me one. What's a prediction for this fight on May 9th?
What I can definitely predict is a fight that will be remembered for all time. That's one thing. That's something that I know it's consistent in here, and I'm not going to ever put any weight on my athlete's shoulders from that standpoint and say he's going to do this. I know he's going to perform. I know he's going to go out there and give it his all, and that's all that matters to me. And when he does that, it's spectacular to watch. I mean, he's a guy who everything he does wows me. With the highlight nickname, that's what he does. And I mean, I can't remember a boring fight. He goes out there and puts on a great fight for the fans. He fights for the people, and I respect that. And you're an entertainer. Go out there, entertain the fans, and also stay consistent. And let's win rounds so we walk away with his belt.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is a wild sport. I've seen a lot of crazy things, but this has got to be right up there with the top ones. And you're already smiling. You'll be smiling.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
It's going
to be unique too to be able to corner and not have to scream over the crowd. And it's gonna be cool. I always like new. It's like, hey, can you go to a new country? Can you go to a new venue? Are you fighting outside or inside? Like, this is cool. Like, it's unique. And again, we want to inspire people to when you can't control things that are outside yourself, you can't control that. But you can control yourself, and when opportunities present themselves, you have to attack them and go and do everything that you can. And this is a sport of inspiration. This helps people fight through things. And, me and Justin talk all the time. That's what he's going to do. He's going to go inspire people.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.